Hello everybody out there on YouTube. It's me, James, once again, and today I have another special video. So today I'm going to be showing you guys all the stuff that I got at the train show, the Plano train show. So I'm just going to start off with what I got first, and also this is some other stuff that I haven't showed off yet, but I'll show this off because this was one of the first things that I got before the show, actually. A week before, I should say. And it is this N-scale Bachmann 040 116. I could not get this engine to work properly. I tried every single trick in the book to try and get it to run smoothly, but it just wouldn't work, and the tender kept on uncoupling as the engine moved along. So I'm going to be selling this off to another guy who collects these types of engines in specific, actually, and he knows how to get them working, so that'll be that. But this was one of the engines that was given to me by my buddy Sam, because he had gotten a hold of a bunch of different N-scale stuff for me because of a layout that was donated to us and all that, and I'm working on getting that to me so that way I can get it started on finishing it for our club to use, and more or less just for us to have some fun screwing around with. So yeah, that's that. So, and it's in its original box. So yeah, you guys can enjoy that. Still don't know what that type of diesel is. It's blue and white, but there's no logos with it. Very, very strange. Anyway, but yeah, there's that. So I'm just going to put that over here. And we'll start with rolling stock. So, first things first, if I can get this out. So, this box of cars was given to me by my friend Luke. He has his own YouTube channel, and if you're lucky, you might see him in the comment section of this video. But he gave me these cars and a spare 060 locomotive, which I will show later on, because he was modernizing his N-scale collection, and these were just all the cars that he just didn't need / didn't want anymore. So, let me show them to you. Well, some of them are. These three are not part of what he gave me. Those came from a different thing. Those were part of the same donation as the 040. That's what these little hopper cars came from. And as you can see, they have a knuckle coupler on one end, and they have a Rapido style coupler on the other end. Because these are like for transition cars. Like basically, I can have one set and another. Alrighty, so here's one of the first cars. This is a CSX Reefer. It's really nice. I always like having nice, big, long cars. And then here's one of my favorite ones. This is a Pacific Fruit Express Reefer. And this is an old school style reefer. That's the newer sort of ones that you'd see nowadays because they have the two doors. So yeah, there's the Pacific Fruit Express. And then of course we've got a Reskin Packing Co. Company one. So there it is. Again, this is an older styled one because it's got the single door. But also, I don't really like how the color on this one is because, I mean, yeah, it's yellow, but it's not that type of yellow that's like painted yellow. It's the molded in plastic kind, and I'll probably dull it with like a coat of clear coat, but it'll be a matte finish to it. Kind of like the other coaches, they're not shiny. They don't shine when you put stuff on them like that. So, yeah. So there are those cars right there. And then next up we have a Union Pacific boxcar. So there it is. It's missing a coupler and I got to get a replacement one. So there's that. And then of course there's this Southern flat car, or gondola I should say, and it's missing 3 wheels, which I do have some wheels for it, so it'll roll soon enough. And then of course I got not one, not two, but 3 Louisville and Nashville hoppers. So yeah, that's all the stuff that Luke gave me, minus the steam locomotive, and we'll get to that in a minute. So here's one of the other cars, and I got this today actually. So there's the Heinz Pickles car. I got this because I like the colors on it. Very, very nice. And then a Southern Pacific boxcar. This will probably go with the little flat car. But yeah, very nice. I got it mainly for the colors. It was what I was looking for because I like having rolling stock, but I don't like having to paint it all the time because that just gets annoying. Now, another thing that came with the box were these 2 F units. So we have a chassis system, C&O F unit. Its front lights up and everything, and it actually moves. And I will get it hooked up here in just a moment so that we can see it jitter around a little bit. It doesn't have any front or back couplers, so I'm going to probably work on getting some installed, or possibly installed. And then of course we have this one. This is a Santa Fe unit. This one does not work as well. It doesn't have a light up front. Again, it's missing the front and back couplers, but also it's missing the side detailing for the wheels, so these are kind of left exposed. So, and also this engine doesn't really run as well, so I'm using this as a parts engine for this one, essentially. Alrighty, we got it hooked up, so let's power it up. And then let me turn this off so that you can actually see the headlamp on it, or the backlight. In fact, let me turn it around, and we'll be able to see it even better. So there it is. Let me... Oop, that was a bit quick. So yeah, very nice little engine. I'm not going to run the Santa Fe one because it does not run as well, and it just is a pain in the butt to deal with. So yeah, those are the engines we got for that. And here is the spare 060. It did not come with a tender, and I tried finding a tender for it at the show, but all the ones that were for 060s were all busted up tenders. So yeah, ain't that just a treat. So let's do it. So, and it runs really smoothly, which actually surprises me. It requires very little voltage when running, as you can see. It runs way more smoother than the other 060s that I have, although it needs some better pickups in order to run on most of this track. And that's another thing. I tried to get some more Bachmann track, but they just did not have a lot of it around. There were mostly curves, but, you know, oh well. But we do have a layout coming soon, so all of these will have a little place to call home eventually. But yeah, but there's that little 060. I'm currently working on turning it into a track inspection locomotive. Here's the car shell. It goes on top like that, sort of, just, you know, roughly showing you what it will look like eventually. So yeah, that's pretty cool. And also, if you're wondering what the hole in the top is for, that is for access to the body shell screw right there. So yeah. Alrighty, now for the other thing that we got. So as you can see, this is a Southern Pacific N-scale dummy locomotive. It's just one of these little die-cast ones. These things usually just kind of sit on the tracks and they don't move. But I decided to use mine, and I modified it so that it could actually go on curves and be pushed around properly. So keep in mind I'm trying to do this all with one hand, so pardon the shakiness. But to go with my Grapevine Vintage Railroad 2248, I have here engine 2199, Vinny. Let me move them over here. And yes, I know Vinny looks a little bit too red to be, or too bright to be Grapevine Vintage Railroad. However, that will change eventually. I am going to weather this engine a bit more. In fact, that is the only complaint I have gotten about this engine so far, is that it's too clean looking. And that was from the National Model Railroaders Association. Yeah, the literal guys that set the standards for model railroading told me that, aside from everything else on my engine, the only thing that was wrong with it is that it was too clean. So to everyone who says that my models suck, ha! Anyway, I also got the logos on the front, if I can show this. But yeah, the logos are on the front and one on the back. And yes, one of the bogies did just fall out. Also, I had to cut these little plastic pieces off of the bogies in order to get them to swivel a lot more freely, so that they can go on corners. And I still need to add some details at the top for the engine. But aside from that, it's practically finished. And if you're wondering why it doesn't say $21.99 on the sides of the cab, it did. However, this bar, when I put the engine back together after it had dried, it scratched the whole thing up, so I just decided not to put any there and just leave it blank as I painted over that. So, yeah. Let me actually re-angle this. So there we go. Now you can actually see it. And then right there it says Grapevine Vintage Railroad. If the camera will bother to try and focus today. Nope, it's not going to focus. At least it's not going to try it. Well, there, you can see it now. Grapevine Vintage Railroad. Yeah. So yeah, that was Vinny. And now, on to the next engine. And now for my favorite haul. And your eyes do not deceive you. This is a Chicago, Burlington, and Quincy Railroad 484 Northern. And this is a brass engine, believe it or not. Not the whole engine. It's a brass hybrid, actually, but this is a brass Northern made by Bachmann. And I got it for $15 because the guy who was selling it said that he had not tested it in over 7 years. He bought it, used it once on his layout, and never used it ever again, and decided he didn't need it, and was selling it. And it's had some minor damage to it. It's missing its bell, and also the pilot at the front has seen some better days, but I'm going to try and get that fixed if I can. Right now I had to re-glue most of what was there. I'll probably just put a snow plow on the front of it just so that it looks nicer. And this is DC. The two diesels were DC and the 060 was DC. I've got none of what I got is DCC except for Puffy and the NW2 switch engine, which I might even be getting rid of soon or selling at the next train show because, quite simply, I don't need it and it doesn't fit with what I go with for my model railroading. And also, I'm going to change this from a Burlington route engine into an Illinois Central Northern, which is more in line with what I model with. But yeah, this sucker is huge, and I love it. It's heavy, and it's big, and it can turn on tight corners thanks to one of the drivers being blind, and also how well the axles and wheels pivot. So I'm just going to get that set up for you, and we'll watch it move around. I'll say this. One thing that was kind of odd is I found numerous 8-wheeled tenders, or 2, 4, 6, 8, 9, or these massive 8-axle tenders. There were tons of these, as in their own boxes as spares at the show, but not a lot of the actual Northerns. And this thing runs fairly decently. I mean, it skids just a tiny bit, but it works. Well, when it wants to. And as you can see, it makes quite a lot of noise. I still need to re-oil it again, but let's get it moving forward with a small train. now we're just going to stop and go back. And we'll watch it kind of go by. So. Alright, I'll let it run back and forwards a few times. Also, this engine is bigger than the small faux Hudson. That's N-scale and fits on N-scale track and stuff like that. So, yeah, this thing is no longer the biggest train in my collection of N-scale engines. So, yay! And don't worry, this thing's really rugged. It's rough and rugged, as the box says, so it's not going to get damaged from me flicking it. So, here we go. Also, the train has a headlight in it, and I shall demonstrate it right now. So, there you have it with the Northern. By far, one of the best cheap purchases I've ever gotten. It was very nice, and I absolutely adore it. So yeah, let's take it off now, and we're going to put the last engine that I got at the show. And now for the last engine. And here it is. It is an N-scale Jupiter. However, this is the 1970s version of the locomotive. As you can see, the Jupiter is entirely red instead of being blue, which is kind of unusual. But this engine I got for around 30 bucks, and it was pretty good. It hauls quite well, and there is video of this engine in action on my channel already if you haven't seen it. And I'll say this, the only reason why this engine is remotely expensive because of its, because right now, the way that you look at it, it's small, it's dinky, it can't really pull a lot because it doesn't weigh anything. It's one of the smallest engines. In fact, the 060s dwarf its size. Look at that. This thing is supposed to be technically smaller than this, and yet it is massive compared to it. And that's not a trick of the eye either. It's still bigger even when you put it on the other side of it. No optical illusions here. But yeah, the only reason why it's expensive is because of this piece here. The dome with the whistle on it is made of brass. That tiny amount of brass is what gives these things their price. Aside from that, you should only ever pay around maybe $50 maximum for one of these 440s, because most of them are DC. Very few of them are DCC. So there's that. And also, most of the time they don't come in mint condition, as mine has quite a few paint scuffs on the cab, which is a little unfortunate, but I'll most likely be repainting the engine later on anyway. But I'm going to keep it like this for as long as I want. So, not to mention, these engines have their motors in the tender, so they kind of have a tendency to break quite easily if you're not careful with them. Especially that little drive rod connection in between the engine and the tender. Very fragile. But this thing is very responsive on the remote. Although it does have a problem trying to pull itself along. And of course, let's maybe go back. And then forward again. And now I'm going to set it up with some of the ore cars, and these things are actually very light, so it shouldn't have a problem pulling them. So let's get back to that. Alrighty, here is the Jupiter, the red Jupiter I should say, with 3 ore cars. All of them are plastic, by the way. These are not made of metal at all, except for the wheels. And yeah, I think that's about it, because if it goes any further, it might break itself. So, yeah, let's try and go backwards now. I should probably clean the wheels on it as well. Oddly enough, it does have 4 different traction tires on it, so it should be getting more than enough grip. Although I might need to add some sort of weight to the engine, maybe by making a metal stack to it, but I doubt that would actually do anything. But still, it's a neat little engine nonetheless, and I absolutely adore it because it's one of my favorite classes of engine. And before everyone asks, yes, I'm going to try and get a 119 type engine to go with it so I can do the Golden Spike reenactment. So yeah, I hope you all enjoyed this video. I look forward to seeing you in the next one. And before somebody in the comments asks, this is all the locomotives and rolling stock that I got at the show. I did get other things at the show that I will show in a separate video. But yeah, so bye for now, everybody. Oop. All right, here we go.